JRPGs are some of the most timeless games ever made, but the truth is, a lot of them are still stranded on outdated hardware, or never got the proper love that they deserve. Some classics have been remastered faithfully or beautifully somewhat, but others, they're begging for a second chance. So in today's video, we're counting down 10 JRPGs that I think need ports or remasters of some sort, basically just to make them more accessible, because I know a lot of you guys out there would really like to play some of these games. And before we get to that, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not already, and leave a comment down below. I'd love to know your thoughts, or what other JRPGs that are missing on this video would you like to see ported or remastered in some way, shape, or form. So let's get to the first one. I know a lot of you guys either love this one or hate it. Final Fantasy XIII. Now, this is one of the most divisive entries in the Final Fantasy series, as some of you know. And if you've watched some of my ranking videos, you know that I haven't favored it quite well. But I will say that it is a game that I would really love to revisit on modern hardware, or maybe more conveniently. A lot of people loved, the cinematic storytelling and the combat. Well, some other people hated the linearity and some of the hand-holding in the game. But whether you love it or not, 13 is a major part of Final Fantasy history, and it deserves to be preserved on modern hardware. Right now, it is only accessible really on like PC, I suppose, on Steam, and PlayStation fans are kind of left behind. A proper remaster even would bring it to modern consoles with some upgraded visuals and quality of life tweaks. Imagine experiencing Lightning's journey with maybe 4K or reworked pacing that smooths out some of the slower parts. I mean, the soundtrack is already one of the highlights of the game as well, and that would really shine with not only just a remaster treatment, but just a ported treatment, so that way more people could listen to this great soundtrack. And yes, while 13 may not be everyone's favorite Final Fantasy, a polished re-release could help people see it in a new light. And considering the art direction, the sci-fi aesthetic, and the battle system, it would really feel right at home on modern consoles. So people who skipped it back in the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era might discover something special if Square Enix decides to give it a second chance. A remaster could really help rewrite its legacy from maybe the black sheep of Final Fantasy to maybe just a misunderstood gem that we needed another decade to really digest. Dragon Quest VIII. Now, this is still considered by many fans to be one of the best entries in the entire series. The massive open world, the charming cel-shaded visuals, and the amazing orchestral soundtrack made it a standout back on the PlayStation 2. Of course, it did get the 3DS port years later. That version also came with some would consider visual downgrades and really kind of watered down the score a little bit. To this day, the definitive way to play is the PlayStation 2 version. A remaster could really fix all that, bring back that orchestral score, polish up the visuals in HD while still keeping that timeless art style. Look at a game like Sandland. I mean, why wouldn't Dragon Quest VIII look like that? I mean, it's actually a really great game. I don't mind Sandland, and it's a beautiful looking game as well. This is definitely a classic game that deserves to be as accessible as possible, especially for newer Dragon Quest fans who never got to experience it. So perhaps maybe once Square Enix is finished remastering, Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3, and now 7, maybe 8 is next. There's really never been a better time to give 8 the definitive version that it deserves. Next up is Xenogears. This is a game that I love to love, and it is maybe one of the most legendary cult classics in JRPG history. With the ambitious storytelling, the psychological themes, and giant mech battles, I mean, it really captures the imagination of anybody who's going to be playing this game. I was totally blown away by it. But as groundbreaking as it was, the game was also a little bit rushed, especially on disc 2, where content had to be cut, and much of the story is delivered through like text and narration rather than gameplay. So to this day, it is still one of the biggest what ifs. What would this game would have looked like if it were finished properly? That's why a remaster feels maybe important. Even just a polished version with HD 2D visuals, smoother combat, and maybe a few story restorations, that would really be enough to elevate it into the masterpiece it was always meant to be. I mean, with the popularity of Xenoblade, the time has never been better for Xenogears to rise again. Maybe it's more than just nostalgia though. I honestly think that Xenogears represents a moment in JRPG history when developers were really pushing the limits of the PlayStation 1. Not only just visually, but in terms of storytelling. A remaster could preserve that bold vision while also addressing some of the technical shortcomings of that game. We would finally have a chance to play Xenogears the way it was intended, not just as a cult favorite, but as one of the all-time greats with a finished second half. Now, this is one of my favorite series, and this is the Dot Hack franchise, and honestly, I think it was way ahead of its time. These PlayStation 2 games simulated the MMO experience offline, complete with, fictional message boards, in-game emails, and a fully fleshed out game-within-a-game vibe. Now, the original quadrilogy, yes, not trilogy, but 4 games, Infection, Mutation, Outbreak, and Quarantine told a really compelling story about virtual reality, AI, and, the blurred lines between real life and the digital world. Unfortunately, and strangely, only the later GU trilogy got an HD remaster. I really am unsure as to why the PS2 series got left behind. So that leaves the original Dot Hack games stranded on the PlayStation 2. And worse, some of these games are really expensive. Like Quarantine is one of the most expensive PlayStation 2 games on the secondhand market today. And a proper remaster would really preserve what I consider to be groundbreaking titles and improve a couple things and finally make them available for a new generation of players. Honestly, I think it's long overdue for these games to be brought to new fans. A full remaster of these games would not just be nostalgic, it would feel relevant again. We're living in a time where online worlds and digital identity are more important than ever, and Dot Hack's themes would really, I honestly think, resonate even more today than they did in the early 2000s. These games were pioneers back then, and a remaster could really give them their rightful recognition now in the 2020s. Now, hang on, before we go any further in today's video, I want to let you guys know that 90% of the people that watch my channel on the regular are not subscribed, so I would love to have you stay in touch. Each week I release a video, and also if you want more regular content, you can find me on Instagram, where I'm uploading daily content, retrospectives, clips from my videos, polls, or other things. I would love to be able to interact with you guys over there. So anyway, let's get to another game that is so desperately needing to be able to be played by people on modern consoles today. If you owned an Xbox 360 back in the day and you love JRPGs, you probably have heard or have played Lost Odyssey. Now, this is a game that I played for the first time about a year ago, and honestly, I really enjoyed it. This was created by Hironobu Sakaguchi and Mistwalker with music by Nobuo Uematsu, and basically it was the spiritual successor to Final Fantasy, and some people consider it the true Final Fantasy XIII. Now, the story here followed a immortal struggling with centuries of memories, and it featured some of the most emotional writing in a JRPG around that time, especially with the 1,000 Years of Dreams short stories. Problem is, Lost Odyssey is more or less trapped on the 360. Yes, it's technically on newer Xbox consoles. It's never really properly been remastered. A new release with higher resolution, faster loading, or modern conveniences would really make it shine all over again. And a lot of people still talk about this game with great reverence, and it deserves to be rediscovered by the wider JRPG community. Again, I played this for the first time last year, and I was pretty well surprised. Beyond just the gameplay, though, Lost Odyssey has a bit of cultural significance to it. It was proof that traditional JRPGs could still thrive on modern hardware, even in an era where people were saying that this genre was kind of dead. So a remaster would remind everyone just how special that Xbox 360 generation experiment was, and maybe even open the door for a sequel one day, or even more interesting, a prequel. Now, this one's going to come out of left field a little bit, but I really enjoy Terranigma. This is one of the best Super Nintendo games, and honestly, I guarantee a lot of you have never played it. This was only released in Japan and Europe, never officially released for North America. This is the third entry in Quintet's spiritual trilogy alongside Soul Blazer and Illusion of Gaia. Terranigma's story was surprisingly ambitious for its time, telling the tale of resurrecting and rebuilding the world after a great catastrophe. Because it never saw a proper worldwide release, Terranigma remains one of the most rare and sought-after RPGs of that era. A remaster could not only modernize its visuals and gameplay, but also bring it to a global audience. Given the success of retro-style remasters like Live Alive, for example, that was totally ambitious to have that brought as HD 2D, and I love that game, and I know that game did pretty well. Terranigma would also be a perfect candidate to finally get the recognition it has always deserved. This is also about game preservation as well. Terranigma is one of those games that risks being lost to time if it isn't re-released ever. With digital distribution, there's no reason why players around the world shouldn't finally get the chance to experience one of the Super Nintendo's most important hidden gems. Another one of my favorites, The Legend of Dragoon. For years, this has been one of the most requested JRPG revivals. Originally released on the PlayStation 1, this was Sony's attempt at creating something of a rival to the Final Fantasy series, and of course, it didn't quite reach those heights. It did develop a passionate cult following, thanks to its unique combat system, the transformation mechanics, and the story, and it also did have a sequel in the works, but unfortunately got canned by Sony not too far into the development. Unfortunately, this is just a case of another game that's only ever been playable on original hardware. Aside from like a bare bones PlayStation Network release maybe a year or two ago, a remaster could really breathe new life into Legend of Dragoon, updating the visuals, maybe fixing some pacing, maybe even expanding its world even just a little bit. Considering how fans still hold out hope for a remake, even a high quality remaster would make a lot of people happy. It would also serve as a huge nostalgia play for Sony. This was their homegrown JRPG, their answer to Final Fantasy. Again, I mean, giving it the remaster treatment would be a big way of honoring PlayStation history. People have been asking for this for over 25 years now, and it's about time Sony listened. Another Mistwalker game, Blue Dragon. Now this holds a very special place in JRPG history. This was the first collaboration between Hironobu Sakaguchi, Akira Toriyama, and Nobuo Uematsu after leaving Square and since Chrono Trigger. And this is one of the big reasons that JRPG fans would have picked up an Xbox 360 aside from Lost Odyssey. With Toriyama's art style, Uematsu's soundtrack, and Sakaguchi's direction, it had all the makings of a classic. While its story leaned more whimsical compared to Lost Odyssey, it was still a fun and charming adventure. Like Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon has been stuck on the Xbox 360 ever since. Remastered would not only preserve it for modern players, but also give this important collaboration the spotlight it deserves. Again, I mentioned Sandland not too long ago. This game is perfect for whatever Sandland is running on. It would be amazing to see Blue Dragon in this art style. And let's not forget, Blue Dragon had a few spin-offs and a decent following in Japan, so a remaster could spark new interest in the franchise and maybe even revive it to a certain extent. I mean, obviously probably a little bit unlikely considering the passing of Toriyama, but it's still a part of JRPG history that deserves to be remembered, not forgotten on dead hardware. Up next is Skies of Arcadia. Now this is one of the most beloved Dreamcast games, and it's been left behind for decades. The game sets itself apart from other JRPGs by leaning into this more sky piratey kind of adventure, complete with exploration across floating continents and airship battles, and its bright, hopeful tone of sense and discovery made it feel completely different from a lot of the more darker and more traditional JRPGs of that time, and a lot of fans still remember it as one of the most joyful, adventurous experiences in the genre. Now, while it did get a GameCube version that had some tweaks and extra content, again, it's still locked away on older hardware. Imagine what a modern remaster could do. Re-render those vast skies in crisp HD, tighten up the battle system. I mean, that art and sense of adventure would absolutely shine on today's technology. It could introduce a whole new generation to the magic of sailing through the skies with the lovable characters of this game. I actually saw this game recently in a retro game store for like $150 for Dreamcast, and I almost pulled the trigger, but I just can't justify anything like that anymore. So we really need this brought back on modern hardware. And I know for a fact that Skies of Arcadia is consistently one of the most requested remasters among JRPG fans. I mean, Sega has dipped back into its archives before, but this one feels like a no-brainer. It's a cult classic that deserves more than just to be stranded on discontinued consoles and another overpriced game on Dreamcast. With its timeless spirit of exploration and optimism, a remaster would not just preserve Skies of Arcadia, it would finally soar higher than ever. And last on the list today is the Xenosaga Trilogy. Now, I haven't played every Xenosaga game. I played a little bit of Xenosaga 1, and I need to get back to it. It's just a time thing. But I tell you what, this is a remaster that fans have been begging for almost more than anything else that I've seen. The Xenosaga Trilogy is one of the most massive and complex story-filled games with philosophy, religion, and science fiction on a grand scale. I mean, Xenogears was really good, but I feel that the developers had more flexibility to tell a really big story here, and obviously that kind of rolled into Xenoblade Chronicles, so this was a really great series that more people need to play. And the problem is here with Xenosaga is they've never been revisited. No ports, no remasters, nothing. And with how expensive and rare physical copies are, Xenosaga is practically unplayable for modern fans. A full trilogy remaster with updated visuals, faster combat, restored content. I mean, this would be a dream come true. With how popular Xenoblade has become, and considering the ending of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed DLC, this would be a perfect way to honor the series' legacy and bring one of the most ambitious JRPG sagas back to life. Beyond that, Xenosaga deserves recognition for laying the foundation of like modern JRPG storytelling. The characters, the themes, and even the music have influenced countless games since. So a trilogy remaster wouldn't just be fan service, it would be preserving an essential piece of JRPG history before it fades into obscurity. So that's my list of 10 JRPGs that need ports or remasters or something like that. Not remakes, we're not getting on that territory, but yeah, a lot of these games I know you guys would love if you get your hands on them more conveniently than either emulating or, digging up something off of Facebook Marketplace to be able to play these older games. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on another video next week. Bye-bye.